Our story begins in the late 1980s in Seoul, South Korea. The country was rapidly changing, modernizing at lightning speed, growing its economy and stepping onto the global stage. But behind the fast progress, many people carried heavy hearts. It was an era of separation, families divided by history, young people leaving their hometowns for cities, lovers separated by duty and distance. In a small apartment in the bustling city, a young composer named Kim sits by his piano. He has just said goodbye to the love of his life, who is moving overseas to find work. The pain of that goodbye is fresh and deep. He presses the keys slowly, letting the notes flow out naturally, soft, melancholic, but incredibly beautiful. He writes lyrics about waiting, about longing, about a love that stays the same no matter how many miles or years pass. He calls it "내 곁에 있어줘," meaning "stay by my side." He sings it in small clubs, never imagining that this ballad, born from his own personal sadness, would eventually travel thousands of kilometers away and become the anthem of another nation's heart. Years go by, and the song becomes a classic in Korea, loved by generations. Played on radios, sung in karaoke rooms, heard at weddings and farewells. Then, in the mid-1990s, history creates a new bridge. Thousands of Filipinos begin traveling to South Korea, not just as tourists, but as workers, professionals, and students. They arrive in a country very different from their own, colder, busier, with a different language and culture, but they bring with them their warmth, their resilience, and their love for music. One evening, a group of Filipino factory workers gather after a long shift. They turn on the radio, and that familiar melody fills the room. Even though they don't understand the Korean words, tears immediately fill their eyes. "It feels exactly like our songs back home," one of them says. "It speaks of missing someone, of loving from far away. It's exactly what we feel here." A young Filipino musician named Carlo is there. He is so moved by the emotion of the tune that he decides to write new lyrics in Tagalog, keeping every note exactly the same, but telling the story from their perspective, the story of an overseas Filipino worker, far from family, working hard, holding on to love. He calls it "Sa'yo lamang," only for you. Carlo records his version with simple equipment, just his voice and a guitar. He never intends for it to be big. He just wants his friends to have a song that expresses what they go through. But when he plays it at a community gathering, the reaction is explosive. People stand up crying, singing along immediately. It is like hearing their own lives turned into music. Word spreads fast. A local music producer hears it and offers to record it properly. When it is released, it shoots straight to #1 on Philippine radio charts. It plays everywhere, in jeepneys, in malls, in homes, on television. But the most amazing thing happens. Korean listeners living in the Philippines hear this Tagalog version. They recognize the melody instantly. They post online, "We know this song. It is ours too!" Hearing it in your language, it feels like we are the same people. Suddenly, what was a Korean ballad and a Filipino ballad becomes one song with two voices. It bridges the language barrier completely because the feeling is universal. As the years pass, the relationship between the Philippines and South Korea grows stronger and deeper. Korea becomes one of the Philippines' biggest trading partners, closest allies, and most beloved friends. The Korean wave, K-pop, K-dramas, K-music, sweeps across the Philippines, and Filipinos fall in love with Korean culture. But what many don't know is that this love story started long before the internet, started long before K-pop. It started with this one ballad. In 2002, during the World Cup, when Korea made history, Filipinos cheered just as loud as Koreans. In 2006, when a terrible typhoon hit the Philippines, Korea sent help faster than almost anyone else. And through every moment of joy or hardship, this song was there. Korean artists visited Manila and sang the original version. Filipino stars visited Seoul and sang the Tagalog version. Audiences in both countries would stand, hold hands, and sing along, some in Korean, some in Tagalog, but all with exactly the same heart. Media began calling it the unofficial anthem of friendship. It proved that you do not need to speak the same language to understand the same emotion. Then came the era of television dramas, the Hallyu Wave. Korean series became the most watched shows in Philippine history. Millions of Filipinos would stay up late, crying, laughing, falling in love with the stories and the actors. And in many of these famous dramas, the ones that made the whole nation cry, producers chose to use this exact melody as the main theme song. When the heartbreaking drama, Winter Sonata and others like it aired, Filipinos heard that familiar tune again. This time, it wasn't just workers or musicians who knew it. Every single household knew it. It became the soundtrack to their feelings. Filipino fans wrote online, "We don't just watch your stories. We feel them because your music speaks our language." Koreans were amazed. Our sad songs travel so far and make people happy or make them cry in a country thousands of miles away. How is that possible? The answer is simple. Grief, love, longing, and hope are the same in every heart, everywhere in the world. What started in the 80s is now loved by the children of the children who first heard it. Today, you will find versions of this ballad everywhere, on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, karaoke apps, and streaming platforms. Young Filipino artists record modern pop versions. Young Korean musicians record acoustic remixes. Sometimes they even collaborate, a Korean singer and a Filipino singer performing it together, mixing the languages in one perfect harmony. Filipino Americans, Filipino Europeans, and communities all over the world know it. Koreans living abroad say, "When I hear this song sung by a Filipino, I feel like I am home." Filipinos say, "When a Korean sings it, it feels like they know exactly what I have been through." It has become a bridge not just between two countries, but between generations. Grandparents teach it to grandchildren, saying, "This song is proof that we were friends long before everyone knew it." For decades, millions sang it, loved it, and shared it. But almost no one knew the full history. They knew it was Korean, they knew it was Filipino, but they didn't know how it actually began. Then in 2018, a cultural researcher named Soo Jin began digging deep. She traveled between Seoul and Manila, finding old cassette tapes, yellowed sheet music, letters from workers, and radio transcripts. She finally tracked down the original composer, Kim, now an elderly man living quietly in Seoul. When she told him, "Your song is the most loved song in the Philippines," it united two nations when he could not believe it. He cried and said, "I wrote this because I was sad and alone. I never knew that my pain would turn into a bridge of friendship for millions of people. I am so honored." When his story was published in newspapers in both countries, people were stunned. They realized this isn't just a love song. This is a historical record of our relationship written in music. In 2023, to mark the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between South Korea and the Philippines, a massive special concert was organized. It was held simultaneously in Seoul and Manila, broadcast live to millions across Asia and the world. The finale of the night? This exact ballad. The stage was designed to look like a bridge connecting the two capitals. The Seoul Philharmonic and the Manila Symphony Orchestra played together in perfect sync. Singers from both nations stepped forward. First, the Korean lyrics, soft, soulful, and deep. Then the Tagalog lyrics, warm, heartfelt, and sincere. Then they sang them together, weaving the languages into one melody. When the last note rang out, there was silence for a moment. And then a roar that shook both stadiums. People were crying, embracing, waving flags. Leaders from both countries spoke. Politics changes, economies change, times change. But this song remains. It is the sound of our friendship, the sound of two hearts beating as one. That night proved once again, music is the only language the whole world understands. Why does this ballad still matter so much, decades after it was written? Because it tells us something essential about who we are as human beings. Today, the bond between Philippines and Korea is stronger than ever. Millions of Filipinos visit, work, or study in Korea. Millions of Koreans visit, invest, and love the Philippines. We trade, we learn, we marry, we live side by side. But underneath all the business and politics, there is this song. It reminds us that our connection started with something soft and human, with a feeling. It reminds Filipinos that their stories, their struggles, and their love are understood and valued by another nation thousands of miles away. It reminds Koreans that their culture touches hearts in places they have never even been. It teaches us that borders are just lines on a map, but emotions have no borders. As long as we love, as long as we miss, as long as we hope, we are connected. We end our story where it all began, with simple notes and a simple feeling. Today, if you walk along the streets of Seoul or Manila, you will hear it, played in cafes, sung in parks, hummed by people walking home. It is no longer just a Korean song or just a Filipino song. It belongs to both nations equally. The composer Kim once said, "I wrote it for one person I loved." But the world adopted it and gave it a bigger purpose. It belongs to anyone who has a heart. This is the story of Philippines and Korea, connected by one ballad that touched millions. A story of how one melody crossed seas, crossed cultures, and crossed time. It is the story of how music turned a simple feeling into an everlasting friendship between two beautiful nations. And as long as people love and dream, this melody will never end.